India Today exposes terror's expanding footprint across Pakistan. This, even as terror strikes Bannu in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan claims responsibility. Explosion of terror in whitelisted Pakistan is our top focus on India First. Good evening. On India First, I want you to see some images that we're putting out on our television screens. This mosque that you see on your television screen, the mosque and the compound of that Maulana of terror, Masood Azhar. He is a founder of a banned UN-designated terrorist organization, Jaish-e-Mohammed. Now, this is barely 6 kilometers from the Bahawalpur Army Cantonment. It's barely 10 kilometers from the Bahawalpur Air Base. Now, it's often referred to in intelligence parlance as the new Abbottabad. Remember Abbottabad? That's where Osama bin Laden was hidden by Pakistan Army in plain sight. That was barely just a couple of kilometers away from Pakistan Military Academy in Kakul, Abbottabad. Pakistan very clearly tries to keep its terrorists or strategic assets close to military bases. But then, keep in mind, Pakistan does not hesitate to sell them to the United States of America like it did in the case of Muhammad Sharifullah, a wanted terrorist in connection with the 2022 Abbey Gate bombing at Kabul Air Base. Now, that happened in 2021 and 13 US security personnel were killed in that terrorist strike. Pakistan had kept its strategic assets close. Now, when there's a new president in the United States of America, Donald Trump, so as Nazrana that's given by a vassal state, they very clearly handed over a terrorist to the United States. US is happy, it's given them some money. Pakistan is happy. Terrorism will continue as an industry in Pakistan. Ankit Kumar and Arvind Ojha bring you our top story. Terror continues to bleed Pakistan. 2 suspected suicide bombers breached a wall at a military base in Pakistan's northwestern frontier province or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, killing at least 13 and wounding close to 30. A terrorist group affiliated with Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan claimed responsibility for the attack at a military base in Bannu in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
केंट के इलाके और केंट के साथ जो दीवारें हैं ये सारे गिर गया है। साथ में ये जुमे वाला मस्जिद है और जुमे वाला मस्जिद में काफी लोग अफ्तारी के वक्त की काफी तादाद में जो है ना रोजामाती अफ्तारी के लिए आता है, उसमें भी काफी नुकसान पड़ा हुआ है।
Thousands of mourners attended the funeral prayers of the victims of the twin suicide bombings. But Pakistan hasn't stopped support to terror.
पूरा बन्नू का फिजा कितना गमगीन था। हजारों के लोग यहाँ पर इकट्ठे हुए थे और इसका इल्तिजा किया था। इसका इल्तिजा यही था कि खुदा के लिए खुदारा हमें अमन पे छोड़े, खुदारा हमें बमों से न उड़ाए, खुदारा हमने अपने बच्चे इसलिए पैदा नहीं किए हैं कि आप और तालिब के पॉलिसियों में उसके शिकार होंगे और उनकी हड्डियां हम इस तरह इकट्ठे कर लेंगे।
An India Today special investigation by the Open Source Intelligence or OSINT team has exposed how Pakistan continues to remain a fertile breeding ground for radical Islamist terror. In October 2022, the Financial Action Task Force or FATF removed Pakistan from its grey list, apparently for improving counter-terror financing. But this, even as a UN-designated banned terrorist organization, the Jaish-e-Mohammed's Bahawalpur base was undergoing massive yet silent expansion. Satellite imagery provided to India Today by Damien Simon, a geo-intelligence researcher at the Intel Lab, indicates that the Subhan Allah Mosque has doubled in size to over 18 acres, nearly twice its original footprint since its construction in 2011-12. Despite its well-documented links to Jaish, technically banned by the Pakistani government, the previously known Usmano Ali campus continues to be brazenly used by the radical terrorist organization, not just for recruitment, but also for fundraising. The upgraded compound appears to feature multiple new buildings, a mosque, and even stables. The latest satellite image, dated January 10, 2025, confirms that construction is still ongoing at the site. Investigations revealed that Bahawalpur Center is frequently visited by Rauf Asgar, Maulana Masood Azhar's brother and Jaish-e-Mohammed's de facto operations chief. Meanwhile, Talha al-Saif leads Jaish-e-Mohammed's outreach and propaganda division and is often seen at fundraising events here. Designated a global terrorist, Maulana Masood Azhar, who's also the founder of Jaish-e-Mohammed, resurfaced on the 27th of June 2024, attending a wedding ceremony and addressed a gathering. All this adds up to only one conclusion: that the Financial Action Task Force removal of Pakistan from its grey list in 2022 has only given radical Islamist terror a free hand to expand in Pakistan. With Ankit Kumar, Bureau Report, India Today. For more on this, I'm being joined by Mona Alam from Pakistan. Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, joins me on this special broadcast. Mona is a senior journalist in Pakistan. But before I come to Mona and Sushant, I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Open Source Intelligence Team editor, Ankit Kumar, joining me on the show. Ankit, FATF removed Pakistan from grey list. Apparently, the activities within Pakistan from 2022 to 2024 have actually increased, and it's caught on camera and satellite images. What more can you tell us? What more have you and your team been able to gather?
Well, Gaurav, when the Financial Action Task Force 2 years back decided to remove Pakistan from the grey list, one would have considered that Pakistan had enough reasons to believe that it was doing enough to curtail terror financing. In fact, if you go through the official release by FATF, it says that Pakistan had done enough to curtail terror financing. Now, cut to 2025, the satellite pictures show that over past 2.5 years, the speed of construction at Jaish-e-Mohammed's very well-established headquarters has actually doubled. The area has doubled over the years, and we can see a well-thought-of preparation to house as many occupants as possible. So this is a willful blindness on part of the authorities. Bahawalpur is very interesting. There's a good reason why it is called New Abbottabad. 6 kilometers from Pak Army Cantonment, 10 kilometers from Air Force Base. So it is a very strategic location. It is not happening under any kind of accident. It is a well-planned structure. Everybody knows it, with full blessing of Pakistani establishment.
Okay, stay with me. I want to bring Mona Alam and Sushant Sareen into this conversation. Terror right now is bleeding Pakistan along that AFPAC border. Yet terror is expanding its footprints in the heart of Pakistan's Punjab province, be it Bahawalpur, where Jaish-e-Mohammed has its headquarters, or Muridke, where Lashkar-e-Taiba has its headquarters. Now, I want to understand, Pakistan is cash-starved, so it's handing over one more terrorist to the United States, perhaps as Nazrana. Nazrana is usually paid by a vassal state to an emperor, in this case, President Donald Trump. The question is, will Pakistan be let off the hook? Will Pakistan continue to nurture terrorist organizations like Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba? And Sushant Sareen, before I bring in Mona, Pakistan has successfully, the way I'd look at it, pulled wool over the eyes of the Financial Action Task Force and global terror watchdogs. The moment it got off the grey list, Jaish-e-Mohammed expansion project was launched in Bahawalpur. So how does Pakistan manage to do this year after year?
Yeah, well, Gaurav, it manages to do this because the other parties do not take the commitments that Pakistan makes, they take Pakistan at face value. Now, do you know the irony is that the FATF had two test cases. One was Sajid Mir, and we've discussed about it, how the Pakistani said Sajid Mir had died, and then they literally dug up a grave and finally produced him alive, the first resurrection after Jesus Christ Almighty, right? Then the second test case was Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar. And the Pakistanis feigned ignorance at that point of time that we have no idea where the hell this guy is. In fact, somebody like Shah Mahmood Qureshi, who was the then foreign minister, went on to the extent of saying, first he said that he's in some hospital, he's about to die or something. And then he says that we actually don't know where the hell this guy is. Now, he's clearly living under their nose, but they don't want to actually put their hands on him for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is, and one second, on the FATF, I think, we very often misunderstand what the FATF is all about. The FATF mandates that countries take certain mechanisms to ensure that terror financing can be monitored and can be curbed. Now, what happens? State itself promotes terror financing and allows terror groups to continue doing their business, albeit under the radar screen, which is what has happened in this particular case with this massive expansion of this mosque complex. Now, in the case of Jaish-e-Mohammed guy, he has some uses for, partly the Pakistani state is terrified of the guy. They tried to put hands on the Lal Masjid cleric, and look what has happened in Bannu. It's clearly related to what happened in Lal Masjid. Imagine if they tried and put their hands on this guy, Jaish-e-Mohammed chief, what will happen to them? So they're terrified.
That's a very interesting point, and I'll take that with Mona in just a moment. But Mona, even as we speak, Pakistan is burying soldiers and civilians killed in that suicide attack at Bannu, and yet a bleeding Pakistan in the AFPAC region appears to be encouraging terror in the heart of Pakistan, in Bahawalpur and in Muridke. So is Pakistan unable or unwilling to act against Jaish-e-Mohammed, a UN-designated banned terrorist organization?
Thanks a lot, Gaurav. Actually, I think this has been rightly put here on the debate already that Pakistan is presently a victim. And when I say that, we're in a very severe position when I say that. We're facing casualties every day, day in, day out. And of course, I mean, Pakistan happens to be a victim of terrorism itself. And the situation these days have become worse. I think the same has been spelled by Mr. Sushant Sareen and yourself as well. This is a very factual position that we are facing here. And the kind of casualties and the kind of terrorism that we are facing these days is only at the hands of people who are hand in glove with the present Afghan government. And also, unfortunately, the Indians have also been honeymooning with them recently, and they've found this newfound love in the Afghan Taliban regime there. So, I mean, irony has many faces, and this is one of its stark most faces.
But my question to you, Mona, was very specific about Jaish-e-Mohammed in Bahawalpur and Lashkar-e-Taiba in Muridke. Is Pakistan scared? The moment Pakistan went after the Lal Masjid cleric, Pakistan burnt and continued to burn. Is Pakistan scared in case it goes after Jaish-e-Mohammed in Bahawalpur? Then Pakistan's Punjab province will burn. If it goes after Muridke, Lashkar-e-Taiba in Muridke, then there is no Pakistan left. Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed are more powerful than your army.
Well, I tell you what, Gaurav, this will always just be a dream of haters of Pakistan, that Pakistan will be no more. Pakistan will always be there, and it has indeed always been there. Despite, enemies staring at it right at its face and snakes in its own backyard.
Form. The Pakistan of 1947 does not exist in Pakistan of 2024. You lost East Pakistan, and now there is an apprehension you could lose either Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, or your own Maulana Fazlur Rahman said in your parliament that you could lose 6 to 8 districts of Balochistan.
Well, yes, situation at Balochistan, situation in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is very serious, and it's growing serious day by day. I second that, of course. There is some very serious elements. There are some very serious insurgencies happening right at the heart of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa or Balochistan. But I tell you what, it has nothing to do with the political rhetoric out here. That's just for an opposition, and it's more of a political statement which opposition in our country is making these days. It has nothing to do with reality. I mean, reality is far, far from it. But having said that, your topic of the day speaks only about the expansion of one's own house. Yes, you can say that there may be a lot of ifs and buts, given the fact that the fellow himself was on UN proscribed and even Pakistan's proscribed lists of persons. So yes, but it at the end of the day, it only is about the expansion of a particular individual's house here. I tell you what, it is a difficult political situation, and it is a difficult political decision that Pakistan has taken in the past, right? Like
Okay.
you've mentioned rightly about Lal Masjid and the operation that happened. There was a lot of
I
political
want
hue
to
and
bring
cry
in
when it
I
had
want to bring in
happened.
Sushant
It
Sareen.
is a difficult. It is a difficult political decision
But
that
does
people
Pakistan
make
have
here.
the
But I
will?
think
Is
we
the
can't do without
question.
it.
Does Pakistan have the will, Sushant Sareen? Because it appears to be a very deadly Russian
it does,
roulette,
but
that Russian roulette game that Pakistan is playing, that generals are playing with the lives of Pakistanis. So first, they train, arm and launch terrorists, whether it's in India or in Afghanistan. One such terrorist, Sharifullah, was responsible, Muhammad Sharifullah, responsible for killing of 13 US personnel at the Hamid Karzai International Airport in 2021. Now Pakistan hands over the same Muhammad Sharifullah apparently to US to get some $400 odd million. Will it become
Gaurav,
another Lal Masjid kind of incident, or they'll get away with murder like they did in the past?
okay, Gaurav, I'll make 5 or 6 very quick points. Number one, on this whole Sharifullah thing. Look, this is an old playbook of the Pakistanis. This very treacherous kind of a thing that every time there's a big visit or a big event, they present a Nazrana to the Americans. They did it for 20 years when the Americans were in Afghanistan. They're continuing with the same playbook now. Secondly, Pakistan is not a victim of terrorism. Pakistan believes it can still use terrorists because the Jaish-e-Mohammed are good terrorists, right? They are the good jihadis. They are the jihadis who fight for Pakistan, apparently, because they are also being deployed in Kashmir, albeit under different labels, PAFF and stuff like that. But the thing is that the Pakistanis still believe in that good versus bad. And that is why what is happening in Pakistan is nothing more than collateral damage. Whether it's the soldiers who are getting killed or the civilians who are getting killed, you go and shed a couple of tears and that's the end of it. Nobody gives a damn for what is happening because the Pakistan army is more interested in capturing Islamabad and putting the judges and the journalists and everybody else in jail and sealing their mouths. Their press can't even report on terrorism events very clearly and openly. They can't report on it, partly because it will give a bad image to Pakistan. So that is another point which is happening. The third point is that, this whole reality business that Mona is talking about, the reality is what Fazlur Rahman was saying. In fact, the reality is worse than what Fazlur Rahman was saying. There are many districts, many districts, not just in Balochistan, but also in KP, where the state's writ has ceased to exist. The state only is there for a show in the morning. The night time is entirely controlled by the militants and the terrorists and the freedom fighters, the Baloch freedom fighters.
We saw that very recently in that Shia-Sunni violence, or when Shias were massacred, Mona. Who knows better than you? 150, if I remember correctly, is the latest casualty figure in that violence that took place. And Pakistan Army is now telling people only travel in a convoy, only travel on certain days, otherwise don't travel. Shias are killing Sunnis in retaliation for Sunnis killing Shias. But I want to understand the bigger picture, Mona, because this does appear very devious. Even if we were to understand that Pakistan is a victim of terror, which Sushant Sareen very clearly doesn't believe, Sharifullah handed over to US right now. The Nazrana that we were talking about, it's from Ramzi Yusuf to Majid Khan. How many names should we recount of terrorists being handed over to the US every time Pakistan needed money or weapons from the United States?
Look, it has nothing to do with Pakistan needing anything. The point here is that I second the situation here. Firstly, I'd like to rebut this. I don't know where he's coming from. I think he's just following some PTI Twitter handles, Mr. Sushant. I thought he's a very well-researched fellow, but I failed to, abide by that given his present statement on political happenings here in the country. He says that the army, and this is a political rhetoric here. This is what the opposition is trying to say by and large. Of course, in their own favor, but it has nothing to do with reality. I mean, I do a primetime program here in Pakistan. We've often spoken about terrorism and the surge in terrorist activities there on the primetime channel and the
including that
programs.
Shia
And
Sunni
we're
violence
trying
where
to
more than
build a
100 people
consensus.
were massacred,
You know what?
and Pakistan Army was
I'll try
telling
to
people
paint a
don't go.
realistic picture here. I'll try to paint a realistic picture here. We have launched an operation called Azme Istekam, and I do reckon with the fact that there is not enough consensus on the matter. There is not enough social consensus. There is not enough. There is insufficient political consensus on the matter, and that is where we are lacking. This is what we are trying to propagate through whatever means that we have. That people
Okay.
should sit together. People should put their differences aside, and they should sit for the country, because the situation, as you've rightly pointed out, is extremely severe in the country. And there is this insurgencies happening every now and then. We cannot afford to harbor another such fellow. Let's be very
And
straight
yet
and
you
simple
do.
there.
Jaish-e-Mohammed is a banned terrorist organization. It's a UN-designated terrorist organization. Masood Azhar is a UN-designated banned
proscribed
terrorist.
list of individuals.
So is Hafiz Mohammed Saeed, who leads the Eid Namaz at the Gaddafi Stadium, the same Gaddafi Stadium where Pakistan, unfortunately, will not be playing the final. And the final, unfortunately, for Pakistan is not even being held, Champions Trophy in Pakistan. But that's a separate story. But Sushant Sareen, last word to you. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, principal architect 9/11 attacks, caught in Rawalpindi. Why is every terrorist caught in Pakistan, from Osama bin Laden to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed? And that happened in 2003. Abu Zubaydah, Ramzi Yusuf, Ramzi bin Shah, captured in Karachi. Which part of Pakistan doesn't have terrorists, Sushant Sareen?
But look, that is precisely the point. Despite the fact that hundreds of terrorists have been caught inside Pakistan, they've been found in Pakistan, they've got safe havens in Pakistan, Pakistan pleads that it's victim. But look, let me just correct Mona Alam, since she's such a well-read journalist and so clued in. She says Azme Istekam operation is ongoing. I don't know. I think the Pakistan army itself has clarified that Azme Istekam is not even an operation. It's a strategy. And Mona Alam calls it an operation. So maybe she needs a fact checking of her own. Number one. Number two, I don't know what Mona Alam is saying, that I don't know much about what is happening in Islamabad. Haven't the judges written that the ISI and other goons of the Pakistani military have been threatening them, writing letters, capturing their families, intimidating judges?
It's with the court. It's with the court. It's in the apex court. It will be taken up.
Judges have said that, not political parties, not Imran Khan. Judges are saying that. But
less to do with terrorism.
okay, I've run out of time on this part of the show. Sushant Sareen and Mona Alam, this is a very interesting debate, and over the next several days, we shall continue. I've unfortunately run out of time on this part of the show today. A quick break, and Geeta Mohan comes up next with all the latest news from across the world on The World Today. Stay with us.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
India Today Conclave 2025, the age of acceleration.